things that are monotonous are the things that are going to build your business. And the monotonous, boring, behind the scenes, like no one knows you're doing it. Like, and it's not like that, like, oh, I'm hustling so hard behind, let me like post it on Instagram. It's like, I'm so sleep deprived and my brain hurts, but I'm going to keep doing this horrible, stupid, like computer document thing. Like those are the type of things that are going to build your business and make you successful in the long run.
Welcome to Little Fish, the podcast where we honor, celebrate, and learn from small business owners and nonprofit leaders like you. I'm Joel. Thanks for joining us. Today I'm excited. We have the owners of Scorch Fitness. Welcome.
Hi, welcome.
We've got Christina Unkel and Liz Lowe, and I'm excited to have you here. We have a lot to talk about. I know we're going to cover a lot of ground today.
A lot.
On this episode.
Yeah, understatement.
Yes, definitely an understatement, but this will be fun.
Yeah, cool. All right, so what is Scorch? Let's start, Liz, with what is Scorch Fitness? Tell us about Scorch and roll with it.
So Scorch Fitness is a small group personal training gym in Sarasota, Florida, hopefully to be much bigger than just Sarasota, Florida sooner rather than later. But it is a training gym that basically brings true strength and conditioning for the athlete to the everyday person. Okay. So all of our workouts incorporate endurance, strength, and power into every workout, but we're able to modify each workout for each person based on their goals, ability levels, and previous injury history, which makes it a little more like small group personal training than it would a group fitness class.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
That was concise.
Oh, thank you. I've been practicing for a couple of years.
Yeah. No, it's good. And so a lot of people refer to it as HIIT, right? High intensity interval training.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I have been to the classes and they are hard.
Yes, but
good.
They're hard in the sense of it's because you push yourself because you're so motivated.
I try.
Yes, but everybody in the gym can either, let's say they're new to it and they need to pace themselves, like they have the ability to do that, and that's kind of my favorite part of it. So people like you who are super motivated now and just a go-getter, you're able to push yourself to you almost puke, and then you have people who are coming in for the first time and they're able to learn the movements and basically just make themselves feel as comfortable as possible before they truly dive into pushing themselves that hard.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good. Cool. All right. We'll dig into that a little bit more.
Okay.
All right, Christina, you joined the Scorch team more recently, right?
Yeah, I did this year, January 1st.
Yeah.
Well,
nice.
It was a gradual transition.
December 22nd.
December 22nd. Remember that day in infamy. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, no, joined the Scorch team recently. It had been something that I was a part of, Scorch Nation. I mean, Liz and I go back, what did you say, 8 years?
7 years.
7 years from our IMG Academy days. So we had met in that regard. So Scorch kind of happened prior to with what Liz was doing with IMG, and that's how I initially met her. So I kind of understood, knew the concept, knew what she was trying to do, knew what she was doing, not trying. And then really it was after my pregnancy when I was coming back to get back to become a FIFA professional referee and get the endurance and strength level back, and thankfully she now was only 8 minutes away as opposed to being all the way at IMG Academies that I did. I came back after the pregnancy, worked out at the gym for about a year, and it was kind of one of those natural transitions between us having our every Thursday lunches where we just kind of decompress and just talked about life and work and business, and then it kind of turned into, this makes sense. Let's team up.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. And I remember you had mentioned to me before about you mentioned the FIFA referee side of things, that the training to be a referee needs to be intense, right? Because you're keeping up with the athletes on the field.
Correct.
And so I imagine the Scorch training helps quite a bit.
Yeah, and for sure. I think people always kind of forget, especially in the realm of soccer, right? We kind of typically laugh about, right, NFL referees and, Major League Baseball where the umpires, they're there, right? However, is that a nice way to say?
Nice way to say it.
Whereas in soccer, we're actually athletes. So I actually refer to them as a third team because at the end of the day, I have to be where the ball is at all times and where every game critical situation is on a 120-yard field extension wise, right? So it's at all 90 minutes plus some. We don't get a substitute. So you do need that endurance, the strength, the power. The movements are explosive types of movements coming out of the gate. So it's one of those things that you actually do have to train in for day in and day out to be refereeing at the highest levels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, Liz, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your background. Let's talk about let's talk a little bit about your journey. This will be fun. Towards
the crazy journey.
It'll come out with why you started Scorch, but Why did you get into training? Well, I'll let you tell it. I'm not going to try to talk about something I don't understand.
Day one.
Yeah. So, and everyone has a story, and you can always talk to people, especially people in the fitness industry. I think either they have a very traumatizing story and they've come into fitness, or they've just always done it their entire lives. So mine was, when I was younger, I dealt with anger issues and OCD and all these crazy things. And I started using exercise kind of as a way to work through that. So childhood basically kind of pushed me into fitness because it exhausted me like no other, and I was able to fall asleep at night, and it was great. So I was kind of lucky though, in the sense that I learned how to power lift when I was 13 years old. And which kind of,
I was drinking my coffee.
I know. Meanwhile, little 80.
When I was 13, I was playing Pogs.
Yeah. Little 85-pound 13-year-old like throwing a barbell over her head.
Nice.
So I learned how to powerlift when I was 13 and Olympic lift when I was 15. And I ended up running track in high school and being pretty decent at it. And I realized that training for me was going to be a way for me to pay for college. So I needed to bust my ass basically. And so I could get a college track scholarship. So I put all my effort into training and focused on performance. And even in high school, like I would wake up early in the morning and go train before school. And I would focus on all of my nutrition was about like being better. And I would make sure I was sleeping and I didn't go to the crazy parties. And all of that was just
She went to the other parties.
Yeah.
I went to the
sleep parties.
I went to the nap parties. So still go to nap parties. But all of that performance mentality is kind of what I got in high school, because I knew that if I wanted to go to college, I needed to find a way to pay for it. So, because I didn't come from a family that had the ability to help me pay for college at that point. And so I ended up getting to run at a D1 university. I got my degree in athletic training. I became a certified strength and conditioning specialist. So my degree in athletic training is actually, it's a very, people don't really understand athletic training. It has a very, very focused rehab portion to it. So we can work in physical therapy clinics and do that. But there is also a performance aspect to it. So got my degree in athletic training, actually thought I was going to go to med school. Came down to Florida for a year. I thought to be a beach bum. Went to get a job as a personal trainer, and here I was like certified strength and conditioning specialist and all this stuff. And the gym I went to didn't even know what that was, even though it's like the top that you can get. So kind of realized that there was a little lack of education down here when it came to training for performance, and putting actual rehab exercises into training programs so that people stay safe. So worked here for a little bit, decided not to go to med school because I ended up going to work for IMG, where I met Crazy Face over here, and really got to kind of take all of my expertise on rehab, performance training, and start to create programs for the everyday person. So what I originally did with IMG is I took all of our workouts for our pro athletes and created the modifiable version for the everyday person, or there we call it general population.
Okay.
And it was the most amazing thing in the entire world. Just seeing how everybody who came into this training and started focusing on performance and focusing on like how much they could lift and how effectively they could lift it, and did they have full range of motion, and was all their stabilizers super strong so they could continue to progress, rather than focusing on what I like to call the vanity goals, which is, I want to lose 5 pounds, I want to lose 10 pounds. Like we know when you really dig deep that's not going to change your life. So focusing on these performance goals and seeing how the everyday person training like an elite athlete could completely change their mindset. So thankfully, working with IMG, I got to start writing for some pretty big magazines, Men's Fitness, Men's Journal, Muscle and Fitness, and stuff that I still do today. And it's been interesting in the fitness industry in my years and years. I started writing my first programs, actually. I guess I didn't say this. When I was 16, I worked for physical therapy clinics. And I would write training programs for the people who were leaving physical therapy. And obviously the physical therapist would check them off and make sure I wasn't going to kill anybody. But that was when I first started writing programs. So that was, I'm about to be 31. So that was 15 years ago is when I first started writing exercise programs.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still just write exercise programs.
Yeah, right.
So,
and that's really at the core what Scorch is kind of based upon is the exercise programs.
Exactly.
With a facility to do them in.
Yep. So I create all the programs, and then I have amazing coaches, or actually Christina and I now have amazing coaches who coach those workouts. So the coach's job is to modify each workout depending upon injury. So when people come in, they say, okay, I've got this knee issue, this shoulder issue. And the trainers can then create modifications based off the workout that I've already written. And the workout is written actually week by week, month by month, year by year, so that it's an actual program, just like you're an athlete. I think a lot of people forget that a 12-week program is great, but what's after a 12-week program? Yeah. So at Scorch, we program just like you would if you were on a football team or a baseball team or a track team, and all your workouts are periodized, which means that you have different, we call them mesocycles and macrocycles, but basically
I have no idea what that means.
It's different phases of training, so that you don't overtrain or you don't undertrain, because we never want you to plateau. So that's kind of the Scorch program.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
And how many years ago, how long ago did you start Scorch?
Scorch started 3.5 years ago.
Okay. Got it. And it's a great gym, been
Thank you.
successful
Thank
so
you.
far. And
Yeah.
we'll talk a little bit about your plans for the future, which is exciting. But all right, let's dive a little bit into the business side of things. So, this is a business podcast in that sense. And, what in the business? So 3 years ago, you started the business. Let's talk about some challenges or a challenge that you've run into as a business owner, and something that stands out in your mind and how you've maybe overcome that, or maybe something you're still working through. You know?
I will say, and I mean, there's many of them, and Joel, you know a lot about our fun stuff. But I'm going to, when it comes to employees, this has been something that I've had the hardest time with, not because my employees are absolutely terrible. They're actually absolutely amazing, but it's figuring out ways to communicate with different people and different learning styles and
different ages.
Yeah, different ages. So I'm 30. I was 27 when Scorch opened, and I had people who were a decade older than me working for me. And so it's trying to learn how to come from a place of authority, but at the same time being a leader, and at the same time understanding where other people are coming from. And because I think that for me, I always had a hard time working for corporate. So when I was working in IMG, I had a hard time with someone saying, well, this is how it is. Like, just do it.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Just because, with no valid reason.
I think that's why a lot of people end up starting their own businesses. Honestly, they're like, this is stupid. Why are we doing it this way?
Exactly.
I have a different idea of how we should do it.
Yep, exactly. So I try to kind of keep that in mind when I'm talking to our trainers and our front desk staff and even the cleaning people, because everybody has these ideas, and some of them are terrible. But some of the ideas,
bad ideas.
yeah, but no, you know what I mean? But some of the ideas, they make sense. And so trying to keep an open mind, and also coming from a place of leadership and showing that, because I think a lot of the times too, when you really try to have an open mind, sometimes you don't have as much authority. So you want people to take you seriously at the same time. So that's kind of been the hardest part for me, especially in the beginning when I wanted to be everybody's best friend, but I also wanted to protect my business.
Yeah.
So 3.5 years later, I think that's getting a lot easier, but I think it's just building the culture behind what you are and who you are, so that your employees at the same time, they feel just as, convinced basically that
empowered. They believe in it. They understand that the role is essentially malleable. So if we talk about kind of more the corporate world, and how everyone's like, you just have to do what you do.
You have a job description, and this is what you do.
And I think the corporate world is finally starting to accept, because so I'm an attorney, also do litigation and some other business stuff. So I get where people are stuck. And I think at the end of the day, if you don't start transitioning into that kind of mindset where you're saying, yes, there's still a definitive, boss, employee role, et cetera. But also if you understand that your role can be malleable in the sense that you're able to do, if you can think of creative ways into adding into your duties, et cetera, or increasing your type of scope or your role, or bringing ideas that contribute to, at the end of the day, the top line, everyone's going to accept that. And those corporations or those businesses that are like, nope, it's this way or the highway, more because of the mental mindset of those coming up in the workforce now, aren't going to accept that whatsoever. They're purpose oriented.
Yeah.
Right.
So kind of tapping into that.
And they want to contribute to, I have an idea. I want to see, this is an idea how we can improve not just my job, but the whole company.
Correct.
Or help our customers. And you have to be willing to be open and listen to that.
And you get some skin in the game. And then you start talking about, you have an employee, but they feel like they're a little mini business entrepreneur in your company, which is kind of the way you want to go in that approach.
That's the goal for Scorch. And I think too, because Scorch is a gym and we're working with people who have emotions and feelings and are in there for a very specific reason. And most of the time, again, it's not to lose 5-10 pounds. It's to feel better about themselves or fix a relationship or whatever it is. Having employees who care genuinely about the people walking in the door, that's super, super important. And they have to feel like they have a say. And they do have to have a say a little bit so that they can actually like give away that energy and take care of these people that are walking in.
Yeah, because you're not just training for workouts, you're training for life. It sounds a little cliche, right?
Yeah.
Right? You're training me well in that, right?
That's what I'm trying to do.
But I think that, okay, well, let me back up a little bit. When you talked about, let's go back towards the beginning of maybe your first couple employees.
Yep.
Did you start being the only trainer?
No.
Okay. So you started with somebody.
I started with people. And I always joke that I'm a cheater, that I got to open a gym for IMG first and learn what to do and what not to do.
Nice.
Like I failed a couple times. So when we were opening Scorch, I knew that I couldn't do it all alone. I had to have help. And so the first trainer that I actually was like, please, dear God, come work with us. She's still there to this day.
Awesome.
She's awesome. So that's Shayna.
Shayna, yeah.
So Shayna's been with me through
Since
thick and thin. Yeah. Since the beginning. So I knew that I needed like a team. Now, was there front desk staff in the beginning? No. That was us. I did coach the majority of the classes because, offset payroll.
Yeah.
But I did have 3 trainers in the beginning. And Shayna, who is still with us to this day, because she's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and you have, depending on the business, some businesses you can kind of start on your own. Some businesses you have to start with a few people.
Yep.
And when you're training people, I can imagine there's a lot of logistics to the whole thing.
Well, we have 42 classes a week.
Wow, it's that many.
Yeah. So I think I'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
The 42 classes and they're capped at, what's the number again? 24
people.
24 people. Yep. So, but it just kind of really learning on where she always forgets to mention it, just like when the trainer's actually training, how she designs the programs is so that if there's a technical movement, the other movements are, I wouldn't say not technical, but not enough focus has to be put into those.
You can't really kill yourself as much as the other ones, basically.
Correct.
One, you could probably kill yourself. The other 2, you're fine.
Yeah. Well, I've picked up on that for sure. The other thing I picked up on, obviously the workouts are amazing, the classes are amazing, but it didn't take me long. I've been wanting to go on a regular basis for a long time, and finally just got rid of all the excuses, and now I'm going. But one of the things I realized pretty quickly from a business perspective is how efficiently everything runs. So you do back-to-back classes every hour, and the classes are about 45 minutes, and with like a 10-minute stretch section. Yeah. We're out of there. So it's efficient. I love that about it.
Well, thank you.
It's like, and Ryan and I were talking about this the other day, like you can get in there and get out 45 minutes, and Ryan, you've been going to Scorch for what?
I don't know. How long? Probably
years.
Probably 2 years.
Yeah. Maybe more. 2.5.
Maybe more. Yeah.
It's funny because sometimes Ryan, when we were back at the other office, Ryan would come in the morning. He'd just like, "Is it hot in here, guys? I'm just so hot." He's still like fired up from his workout, like an hour or 2.
As call your metabolism,
he's like
still
sweating.
running.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's really not hot in here.
We're proud of you, Ryan.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Just killing it. Thank you. It's awesome.
I think that to your point on the efficiency level, that's probably one thing that attracts our members, or what we call Scorch Nation, is there's a lot of business owners who actually work out at Scorch. For the efficiency level, they're knowing they're getting an amazing workout, good strength conditioning, one that burns through the entire day, are able to do it within 45, 50 minutes, right? And get in and get out. And time is something you can't buy.
Yeah,
It's our most precious commodity. I really think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely appreciated from our actual community itself. I mean, that was another highlight. That
And you
we
don't
always
have to
get.
think about it. That's one of the things I
No, you
like
don't.
about it. You know, it's done for you. It's not done for you. You have to do the hard work.
Well, you
But
just
the
show up.
preparation
You
is
wish
done
it could
for
be
you.
done
Yeah,
for
you're
you.
in the middle of it. Just the other day, I was in the middle of workout, and I was literally thinking, I don't remember what I was doing. I was literally thinking, why am I doing this? I don't have to do this.
Yes.
This is voluntary.
It is.
Why, this really is hard.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, I felt so good. So, yeah.
That's like this morning. I already started getting all like if it's a super, super hard workout, I'll start getting like text messages and like Instagram DMs, and like they've already started to roll in. Like even one of the trainers took the 6 a.m. class, like our trainer Duncan.
Okay.
He took 6 a.m. and he texted his girlfriend, like, I don't know what's wrong with Liz. She must be mad at somebody. This workout was terrible today. Meanwhile, I wrote this workout like 3 years ago, and I've like re-edited it for today, but
right.
it's not like last week I was
Like
like
you're sitting
I was
writing
like,
it.
oh, I hate everybody. No, it's
Right.
like that was 3 years ago. Maybe I was angry 3 years ago. I don't know.
Maybe you were.
Maybe I was.
All right, let's dive a little bit into the industry itself. So the fitness industry. I like to talk about not just your business, but what about your business is different in your industry. And you've got the gym, but also the sports background. I mean, let's talk about a big challenge that is in the health and fitness industry. I know you have a lot to say about it. So I'm gonna let you
I was
take
like,
it
she's
away.
ready.
Yeah.
I was like, start with the fitness versus the
I'm like,
training
I'm getting
industry.
like pumped up in
Yeah,
the chair over
yeah,
here. Okay. The fitness industry.
fitness industry.
The fitness industry.
I feel like we need some music right
Yeah.
there.
Dun, dun, dun. So
Make our own.
I was like back to when I was younger, I was super lucky that I never really had the vanity goals. So my goal was like run track, make money running track, pay for college, get an education, and everything I focused on was performance. Well, when I broke into the actual training industry and started training the everyday person, I realized that fitness was making people sad, like literally making people sad. So it was like, hey, I need to lose 5 pounds, but I only lost 2. So rather than saying, oh, congratulations, I lost 2 pounds, it's wow, I'm not good enough yet. And I saw this like vicious cycle basically of fitness industry fads. So we're looking at nutrition and exercise that are like super, super intense, literally impossible for your lifestyle, and people try so hard and they fail. And then rather than feeling built up like fitness should make you, it was almost like self-deprecating. And that's the theme that I've noticed within the fitness industry since I've gotten into it, because I like to say that I was in the athletic performance training before.
Okay.
A performance
Got it.
industry. So seeing that really motivated me from like right when I got out of college, started training these people to like create something that remotivated people and actually made them feel better about themselves rather than looking in the mirror and being like, wow, I wish I was ...
I've still got to get to this point.
Because you're
whatever that
never,
is.
if that's the goal, then you're never going to be truly happy because you can always get better basically. And so it's what a lot of the stuff that I do with the Scorch members is choosing your why goal. Like why? Like the true why. Like dig deep. People are like, I want to lose 5 pounds. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why is 5 pounds going to change your life? Oh, well, I'll feel better in my clothes. Well, why do you need to feel better in your clothes? Why don't you feel good in your clothes now? Oh, well, my husband made a comment to me the other day. Okay, what the heck's going on with your relationship? You know what I mean? Like, it's not that you need to
Let's
lose
do a
5
little
pounds.
counseling.
And all of a sudden, like,
Yeah.
this is gone for an hour and a half. I was like, oh, okay. That was a 15-minute consultation.
Yeah. So and then we refer them to a psychologist because we always say, stay within your scope of practice, friends.
Yes.
So
Right.
this is, hey, shout out to all you personal trainers writing meal plans. Stay within your scope of practice. Find an RD friend and make this thing legit
good.
and legal. But that was kind of my biggest beef with the fitness industry is that there's so many things out there that one, you've got trainers and I'm not going to say physicians, but you got trainers and nutritionists and all these people who want to make money. So they have to think of something different. Now, it doesn't mean that different is backed by science, and they might use really big words and confuse you a lot. So you might think it's really smart, but really when it comes down to it, exercise and nutrition is the most simple thing in the entire world. And it's also not the only thing in your life. So if the fitness industry, unfortunately, has made it so people get so obsessed with what they're eating, what they're counting, how many workouts they're doing. Are they working out enough that they're also now neglecting their families? They're neglecting their money and their finances. They're neglecting their jobs. And they're exhausted because half of them aren't eating enough.
Yeah.
And so all these other areas of your life are going downhill because you're so obsessed with a fitness industry fad that's actually never going to help you.
And you're still not satisfied.
No, you're never going to be satisfied.
No, and those things last for every 2-3 weeks, right? That's kind of the science supports that. You get excited, you start doing stuff, and you start falling off around between day 14 to 21. And it's a thing, and that's the thing where she kind of connected it for me. So when I went from playing college soccer to law school, and I was still officiating soccer, but I was no longer in a team atmosphere. I was no longer programmed and anything trained for me, given to me. So I was like, well, now I got to figure out how to train on my own. That was the time that I started experiencing the fitness industry kind of push, where it's like, do this workout to get better abs, and do this to eat healthier, and do this, because no longer was I burning like 5,000 calories a day playing soccer and running and futsal and all that stuff. And that was probably, I had connected it back then, but not put words to it, just felt it. And then when she had kind of connected it for me, and I was like, that's true, because you do these things and you can only fail so many times until you start feeling like a failure. And it's weird where you're going into this fitness industry where they're saying, we want to make you a better person. And I don't think they consciously think to do it in this regard, but at the end of the day, it's not helping people fulfill that need or being able to take that step. So we always say, like, reach higher, perform better, think about it on a day-by-day basis, not as opposed to looking at it in a bigger picture. And that's where, we really delineate the line between the fitness industry and the training industry. And it's so much easier. And that's why we say kind of an athlete mindset, performance mindset, like forget the other stuff. It's not going to happen.
Think like an athlete. Don't think like a person that's trying to lose 10 pounds.
Think like an athlete.
20 pounds or whatever. Yeah, I like that.
And then you'll go through different seasons in your life, right? Are you in an off season? Are you in an in season? Are you peaking at the moment, right? Do you need a taper? Is there something come up, like when I go to trial, like I know I'm off for 2 weeks because I just got to almost pull all-nighters. No matter how much I prep, there's always jury instructions and objections from the other side that I want to kill you because you had months to tell me this. But sorry, I digress
she gets
there.
aggressive.
But like, it's that mental state of mind that I'm like, okay, I can't necessarily train at the moment. Whether for me, that means also on the officiating side of it, but it's like, okay, now I need to understand what season in life am I in, and that's acceptable to allow myself mentally to accept it and not say, well, because I didn't check off on a 66-day habit, or, I didn't meditate every day while I'm in training mode, or while I'm in litigation training mode, I'm in trial, that there's something wrong with me.
Like you're giving yourself space in life.
Yeah.
You're saying this season of life or this thing that I'm doing, I can give myself a little grace, a little bit of space, whatever it is.
And it's not even grace. It's just acknowledging and recognizing the context of to where you're at. And really it's facts. It's just facts. And so I think that's one thing like we really take into when we focus on the programming and we focusing on working with the members is understanding that you're training. You're not just sitting here for a fitness kind of concept of it. We're not looking for aesthetics or
the aesthetics do come though.
They do come.
Yeah.
It's just a natural progression.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a natural progression. Like you focus on these other things, these other issues, or they're byproducts of it, which is great.
Right. Well, I can see that in a lot of areas of life, right? You pick the one thing and other things follow that, that one decision.
Yeah.
So, which you guys have a name for that, right? The deadlift effect.
The deadlift effect. Dun, dun, dun.
Tell us real quick about the deadlift effect, and then we'll talk about something else.
I'm going to give you like the politically correct version of the deadlift effect.
Okay. I don't want to hear the politically correct version. No,
do you?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the deadlift effect is super simple, actually. It's basically the idea that by becoming physically stronger, you actually become stronger in all other areas of your life. So that's with relationships, business, decision-making, self-esteem, confidence, all those things get stronger with one step. So the self-help industry has like 9 trillion steps, basically. Like you should do these 9,000 things when you wake up in the morning and don't drink coffee or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So basically what we're saying is that we have one step for you. One step. We want you to become physically strong, and all we want you to do is watch what happens in your life. Watch the trickle-down effect, we call it. And the reason we say that is because we've watched hundreds, if not thousands of people be affected in a positive way by this effect. So it's proven. Just do it.
No.
And the best thing is it doesn't matter what program you're doing. So that's why it's like everyone's like, well, I have the best program for you to get strong. Like, no. Any program that you do consistently is the best program for you. So, I mean, obviously I'd love to tell everybody like, hey, come to Scorch. It is the best workout for you. It is the only workout for you, but that's not true when it comes down to it. Like, yes, have I put a lot of thought into the programs? Of course I have. I mean, this is 15 years of programming, like into a gym location.
Yeah.
But If Scorch doesn't work for you, then it's never going to become a habit and it's never going to make you stronger. So you need to find something. And I'm not talking like go and lift in like 3-pound dumbbells. I'm saying like go grab a barbell. And especially and I don't want to say just for women, because men and women both need to be doing this. And I think that we forget that there's a lot of guys out there who are super uncomfortable walking into a gym situation. So it's moving a barbell. It's literally doing something that you didn't think that you could do before. So the reason we use the deadlift exercise is because it's just basically about picking dead weight up off the ground. Like, yes, we do also do deadlifts. We like them. But it's not necessarily saying like you have to do a deadlift. It's the whole idea that you have a lot of dead weight sitting on the ground in your life, most likely, unless you're like the perfect human, which
nobody is.
There is none.
I haven't met one yet.
There was one.
Everyone's got baggage. We like our baggage. It makes us unique. But it's basically saying that all that dead weight, you have the ability to pick it up, or what you want to pick up of it. But you actually need to become physically strong. You need to tell your body that, hey, you know what? I got this. And that's the whole idea behind the Deadlift Effect. And Christina and I, maybe you can talk about it. We were at a conference like a very empowering conference. Don't even mention the name of the organization, but just
and that's really where the deadlift, like where we turned it from the theory of, and not the theory of, but like what we've seen and the kind of how we coined it.
So basically us just talking all the time.
Us talking about it all the time, and her talking for the longest time ever. And I was just like, for the love of God. And this is probably the part that I love. Like in my legal world, I just solve people through complex situations. This business side of the world is the time I get to be creative. So I finally just kicked her, and I was like, you know what? Literally, I was like, we're at this conference. It was unfortunate because it was supposed to be an empowerment conference. Like, how can you get grassroots efforts off? Because I do some other, nonprofit work, like with the Women's Sports Museum. And so it's like, all right, let's go there. Let's find some empowerment. Let's find connections and networking. And how do you get grassroots efforts off? And unfortunately, the entire conference was more of like, let's picket, let's riot, let's be angry at men.
Victim mentality.
Victim mentality, victim mindset surrounded by it. And we're sitting there and we're like, what is wrong with this? And it was one of those things where we might have been the only ones who were probably anti that mindset. Because
we sat alone at a table. No one would sit with us.
Yeah. Really? And we're like, come on, let's just,
Outcasts.
We're the outcasts.
I've sat on way too many like committees on, gender or like gender diversity issues or this, or how do we bring it into the legal world or this world or this world. And I'm like, let's stop talking about it. I'm like, because I've identified the issue. Let's start putting it into action. What are actions? What are deliverables? What can we do to do about it? Because at the end of the day, like with all due respect, I don't really want to sit here and talk about it.
Yeah.
And so when we went to that conference and we just kind of realized there was more of a victim mentality mindset, and it was about just speaking as opposed to deliverables and action plans that are effective. We just ended up going to the restaurant for dinner and drinks.
I'm like the bar.
The bar.
There was no restaurant. It's a bar.
We went to the bar, started drinking, and we're like, this is it. You know what? You can only complain so much. And then when you're presented an opportunity or you create the opportunity, right, then you need to take action upon it. So we ended up creating the Deadlift Effect that night. We left the conference. We're like, we can't do this anymore.
We didn't go back. We did go work out the next morning.
We did go work out the next
at
morning.
the hotel, and then we went home.
But we really did. We ended up incorporating the Deadlift Effect, creating all of the, whatever you have to do with the business in the beginning and doing that stuff. But that's really where we took this concept, the theory of lifting dead weight off the ground, improves and strengthens other parts of your life, and said, okay, now let's go ahead and not only talk about this, but actually do something about this and bring this to other people, like the power habits and productivity and that type of effect.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at, right?
That's
really
awesome.
in the tipping point and about to be working with some people on it.
Yeah, and the Deadlift Effect is, you're in the process of launching that right now.
Yeah.
Kind of alongside of Scorch.
With your help.
Yeah, we're working on it.
With your
working on
help,
some
I
marketing, messaging, and website. And
he's like, what are you guys doing? We're like, it's really simple. And Joel's like, no, it's not.
Sorry.
No, it is.
They're very
it's
simple.
Good.
With
The theory is really
actionables.
simple. That's what matters. That's a place to start. All right, let's go back to the business for a minute. If you could give advice, let's look at it 2 different ways. Either you could give advice to your younger self, or if you could give advice to somebody who's starting up a business right now, what would you say to them? Yeah, either one of you is fine, but
I think we both could.
Ready, go.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Obviously it's fun, but it's not. I think the one piece of advice that I would give, mean, I have fun in my job, but
Yeah, I know. I'm laughing because I completely, you couldn't have said it any better. I get it. It's really fun, but it's not.
But it's not.
Today it is.
Yeah.
Tomorrow it sucks. Yeah, right.
So, and I would tell, and younger self has OCD, so she's good at this, but I'll tell most people, especially if you don't have OCD, things that are monotonous are the things that are going to build your business. And the monotonous, boring, behind the scenes, like no one knows you're doing it, like, and it's not like that, like, oh, I'm hustling so hard behind, let me like post it on Instagram. It's like, I'm so sleep deprived and my brain hurts, but I'm going to keep doing this horrible, stupid, like computer document. Like those are the type of things that are going to build your business and make you successful in the long run. And you will have times where you feel like things aren't moving forward, but all you're doing is building the infrastructure during that time, which is so important to move forward. So I think that people just need to realize that when you have your own business or when you're starting your own business, monotony is super important, and you need to just be aware that that's going to be a part of your life for a little while.
Yeah, right. Because we always see on the outside, you see the sexy, glamorous part of running a business. It's like the whole thing about an overnight success takes 10 years to build.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
That's funny because it's like I don't do anything unless it's hard.
We're working on her.
Or everything I've done in my life, it's
You're
been
like,
difficult.
Oh, that's very difficult. I'm in.
I know.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you can't do it. I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, if you know how I tick, like, just tell me I can't do it. And then I'm there, which is really bad when people figure that out. And you're like,
I do. I use it against
Reverse
her all
psychology.
the time.
I bet you can't do this.
I was like, yeah.
I bet you can't do the bookkeeping for Scorch. Oh, yeah, I can.
I know. I was like, no, that I am also, I hire experts in litigation,
right.
so I understand. Stay in your lane. But for me, if there's something I could tell my younger self, work-life balance is a myth. It's a lie. It's a lie of productivity. Throughout, and even in like the business corporate world, they push that on you. Like, let's have work-life balance. Let's have work-life balance. This rosy, feel-good terminology, right? And in concept, we all want it. And at the end of the day, work-life balance gives you this impression that there's equilibrium in every single part of your life: work, family, friends, hobbies, etc. That everything's at 50%.
Yeah.
And well balanced.
Yeah. Right.
And that's
BS.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Let's just call it what it is. I'm with you.
That's
there.
bullshit.
Yeah.
And once you accept the fact that work-life balance is a myth and it doesn't exist, oh my God, it's like this huge weight off of your shoulders. And at the end of the day, the word that we necessarily need to be using is counterbalancing. Counterbalancing. And so, and it's something from like right now, I don't, when I talk to groups or people or individuals or work through them on a lot of the corporate business stuff, I don't go from an area of saying I'm an expert or I'm an instructor, et cetera. I come from it in the sense of, if you can relabel what we're doing is not a destination, we're not getting somewhere at the end of the day. It's a journey. We'll always be moving and progressing. Those are other things to help your mind really understand and kind of accept the fact that you're not going to complete all 10 of those lists of your items, right? What am I going to get done? What is the one thing that I can get done today, such that by doing it, everything else is easier?
Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, you love it. You're professing it, and you've been giving books.
The one thing you'll hear Christina talk about a lot. It's actually amazing. But
I love the book.
It's a good book.
But it, like the counterbalancing concept of it, and when I said, okay, like here at the end of the day, kind of what I said earlier, I'm going to be in litigation. I'm going to be 2 weeks working hard on this. I'm not going to see my family, honestly. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to train. I won't be able to referee. I won't be able to do X, Y, and Z. And everyone else is just going to have to accept it. Because it's only for a small period of time. It's for 2 weeks. And if you can't survive 2 weeks without me, then you got bigger issues. Because I'm replaceable in certain things. So once I kind of accepted that fact, then I stopped feeling guilty about things, right? People will be like, all right, I'm out. And they're like, but we haven't done that. I'm like, is it truly an emergency? Like, thankfully in the litigation world, I've learned what a real emergency is versus not. Statute of limitations is a real emergency. You can lose it, right? Or a claim. Right. Versus one that's just a created emergency that has some urgency to it, but isn't a true emergency. So being able to properly categorize things and balance it through the counterbalancing concept.
And know when to switch. So maybe you're spending too long on this one thing and your life is getting a little wacky. Then it's like, all right, maybe I need to move over. But I know what you mean. It's almost like jumping around.
It is jumping around. It's like if you were to take a piece of paper and draw a line right down the center, right? And then even also start thinking about the concepts of, if you're juggling a bunch of balls, right? Some are made out of rubber, some are made out of glass. Define the ones that are made out of glass. For me, it's spiritual, family, and friends, close friends. Those are my 3 glass ones. The rest of them, FIFA refereeing, right? Attorney job, like anything else that you would categorize as a ball is made out of rubber. So I'll be juggling them all at one time. Sometimes I get tired. I'll have to drop a ball or two. Make sure they're not the glass balls that they break. Yeah. And then because the rubber ones are going to hit the ground and bounce back up. So essentially what I did in this practice was I drew a line and I put everything that was glass and everything that was rubber. And then make sure that whenever I'm in an extreme, right, at the end of the day, because you're going to be in some extremes, that you make sure you're only in that extreme for a short period of time when it comes down to the rubber side, and the glass, you stay there more constant. So that I wish I had told myself when I was younger, because I didn't believe that I was OCD or type A, and I still don't think so. I'm in denial.
Total denial.
Everyone else tells me I am. I'm like,
denial.
no, I'm not. I'm like, I'm really easy to talk to. But then I do realize it when I'm like, that's not right. But that being said, I wish I had done that because I had created this whole path. It wasn't until middle of last year. And I had to go to a lot of mental conditioning coaches for this, but a lot of mental conditioning for this. But I had done this whole path of my life of here's where I'm going to be, here's what I'm going to achieve. At this age, I'm going to have a baby. At this age, I'm going to go to this tournament. At this age, I'm going to become a partner. At this age, I'm going to do, and everything was going according to plan until 3 years ago when I had a kid. And I was like, nothing started going according to plan in my mind, broke. And then I started, reading and saying, okay, how do I fix my mindset? How do I reapproach this? And this is coming from the athlete mindset. So I'm saying, this isn't healthy, that I feel like I'm stretched. All my worlds are screaming and I feel like I'm failing at everything. So kind of going back to the thing of what I would have told myself there is to have that adaptive, knowing that you should and you can set a goal, but realizing sometimes you have to rewrite that goal because of different opportunities in life that you did not know that would come down the pipeline. Yeah. That make you reset the goal, and in a good way too. Like even the Fox Sports stuff. Yeah.
And Fox Sports.
Yeah.
Right. And because you did, well, tell us what you did with Fox Sports.
So for this summer, I was a commentator for Fox Sports for the Women's World Cup. I was the only commentator with regard to the voice for what I call the third team, but the referee team, essentially breaking down what the referees do, why they're doing what they're doing, kind of assisting the fans from understanding from the laws of the game concept. So Mike Pereira is probably the best, reference that everyone kind of get. So I was that for the World Cup this summer. And it's funny because everyone, at least in the referee world, what I did was very risky. Right, losing a FIFA badge over it, that type of stuff. But I'm a big believer that your values aren't your values unless you're willing to sacrifice something for them. But even so, everyone's like, you're super brave and courageous for doing that. And I mean, I'm not brave or courageous. I was scared the whole time and still am scared, and I'm like terrified. But the part I love is then you have people like Liz who kick me in the butt, and I'm kicking and screaming and saying not to do it. And her and other close ones in my life are dragging me and saying, this is what you need to do in life. Because there's a reason, there's an opportunity that hasn't ever been presented to somebody else in this context. And this is something you need to start kind of going down that trail and doing it despite all your fears.
Right. Right.
But yeah.
And
good stuff.
And I think that too goes back to just knowing your why. Why? Like, and everybody's different. Like Christina and I are very business focused, but it doesn't mean that everyone has to be business focused. They can have other focuses. Maybe family is there. Like obviously one of Christina's glass balls is family. But maybe someone else's is family, like spouses, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be exactly what we do.
Right. But knowing what that glass ball is, I like that. It was a good analogy.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that when I talk, it doesn't matter who I talk to that's a business owner, there is a similar thread with that, like doing the monotonous stuff. What's interesting is that it's good to hear it from other business owners, because we tend to think that everybody else has it different. But their business is doing this, or their business, you can get competitive with that.
Oh, exactly.
It's good stuff. All right. I'm going to go on to something else. We got to wrap up here. I feel like we could talk for another hour.
We could.
There's no
over
question,
donuts.
No question.
We have in the past.
So, all right. Moving forward, let's talk about where you're headed. We talked a little bit about Deadlift Effect. Let's go back to Scorch.
Yep.
Where do you see Scorch in the next 2 to 5 years?
Scorch Nation.
So I think the really cool part of joining Scorch on the business side of it now with Liz is that we're looking at the bigger picture, right? So the first 3 years, can this concept truly take off? Does it work? Do you have that community that you can build? Because for us, it's really about community. Too. Yeah. And the kind of the culture that we've created, and it is, and it exists. So we stepped in, my husband and I stepped in to work with Liz on it. He's the accounting brain side of it. Gotcha. So I'm like, I'm going to bring in that brain.
Yeah.
Right.
Ted, do the numbers, please.
Crunch. We're going to, which is interesting because it's to your point of like, where do we go, right? We were initially thinking down the franchise model. Well, do we continue down the franchise model, or do we continue to keep it the private model for the next 5, Scorches?
Standard business model.
Yeah, the standard business model,
right?
corporate, right? But it's going to be very, very exciting with that, and that's where we're at right now. At that point, we're at that peak, at the tipping point.
Yeah. And I think too, and maybe this goes back to one of your questions about like, what do you, as a new business owner, you have to know what you need for your business because you can't be everything. So I knew that when I actually, way back when I originally started to create programs with IMG, I knew that this is something that could take off nationally, just seeing what the fitness, like the gym boutique gym trend is right now in the nation, and internationally. And so when it was time to, by year 3, I had gotten the systems and the protocols and the workouts and everything was pretty much like primed. And I was like, okay, what's the next step to making this thing bigger? And I was like, wait a second, I can't do that by myself. Like, what do I need? I'm like, well, I need someone who's really good at numbers, and I need like a crazy attorney who can like actually like.
She's like, Mayday. I'm like, you're fine.
And so, and I'm like looking within my group, and I'm like, wait a second. I already got a business with that woman over there, and she works and she does this really well. And I was like, what better than a team? Now we have all these aspects that each other doesn't have. And what was that? We have the creator, the leader, and the entrepreneur.
Yeah, we still don't know who's what, which is great because sometimes we can change hats.
We can change hats.
But you got the overall team, the
Yeah.
dream team. Yeah.
Because you can have a great idea and you can have a great system, but if you don't know how to allocate dollars correctly or budget correctly or
set the infrastructure,
or what your P&L is, like all that kind of stuff, you need to have the experts in the field to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why the 3 of us just make such a good team to launch this thing going forward, because all 3 of us, our goal is to help people. All 3 of us have
goes back to our why.
Yeah. Our goes back to our why, that we've all been directly affected in a positive way by training. I'm not gonna say fitness, by training, by getting up, by doing strength, doing conditioning, knowing it's going to better our lives, wanting to not have a foggy brain. So we do a workout before a meeting, those type of things. And so because of that, we're able to really push that culture, push that community as we open these locations, and really show people, like, and you came up with it the best, like show people what, like how to like burn off what holds you back, basically. So, and that's why I think that just going forward, as we open locations in every major city near
Every major city, that's it. I love it. Yeah.
We hope that we really bring to the table for everybody is this new sense of community and culture, that I can perform in whatever area of my life that I wish to. So it's not necessarily like we're telling everyone to go out and be entrepreneurs, but it's find your why and perform at your best in that why. And that's, I think, what
one of your main whys is, like, when we talk about kind of goals and stuff, like one of her main whys is to have an impact on every single person in this world and have her voice heard by millions for an improvement of them in their life. Like, even if she doesn't at the end of the day know that she's improved somebody's life from the mindset, from their daily life, family, work, etc. Even if it's one person, that's enough for Liz. So that's her why.
That's good. Yeah. That's the big vision.
Yeah. Let's change the world.
Let's do it. I'm with you.
I always tell my 3-year-old every morning, I was like, what are we doing today? She's like, taking over the world. I'm like, yeah, go get him, 3-year-old in preschool.
That's
and take your
amazing.
1.5 nap, please.
I love that. Yeah. Make sure you get your nap in.
Yeah.
Moral of the story, get your nap in.
Get your nap in.
Yeah.
Hey, entrepreneurs, we nap.
Yeah.
Oh, her and Tattoo. I never nap.
That's a
You're psychotic.
I just sleep real hard.
Everyone, Christina Unkel is not a real person.
Yeah, she's not.
I am.
She's not. So if people want to learn more about Scorch Fitness, scorchfitness.com.
Yep.
And
made by the awesome team at Notion Design Group.
Oh,
Whoop,
thank you.
whoop,
Thank
shout
you.
out.
In fact, Ryan had a big part in that site.
Yeah.
This logo you see on the back screen, he's the
Fuego.
genius that put it together.
It was fun. It helped. It definitely helped. Hold on. Gotta switch the camera. Definitely helped going to the gym to be able to brand the gym for sure, and being able to take what you guys do and bringing that into the brand. So it was definitely fun.
Thanks. And I mean, it really captures it, and I love it. It just, I don't know, it's badass, but it's approachable / Wu-Tang. Like, we're good.
/ oh gosh.
It does look like Wu-Tang. It definitely does.
I know, when I
look
saw it, I was like, oh, I want the Wu-Tang logo. Shows I grew up in the 90s.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. Well, Liz, Christina, thanks for being on the show.
Yep.
wish we could talk more, but maybe we'll do another one,
Yeah.
a second edition at some point. So,
Yeah, sounds good.
Round
Thanks a
2.
lot.
So thank
All
you.
right.
Thanks
Awesome.
all.
Hey guys, I'm Ryan. I'm the guy behind the scenes, and thank you so much for watching the podcast. If you want to watch more videos like this, make sure you click the like and subscribe button. And I also want to give a shout out to 81A Studios for letting us use the facility. If you want to learn a little bit more about them, make sure you go to 81astudios.com. Thanks.